Reselling Rhythms. If you're new to my channel, I'm Adam, and I'm your host. I go live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. What I try to provide is information and education for other resellers, from the beginners to intermediate sellers. I typically schedule a guest. 9 times out of 10 on Wednesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern, I will have a guest. I have a great guest with me today, Yvon Thrifty Rich. I met Yvon at the eBay Open 2 years ago. I knew of Yvon, and I knew of some of the other resellers that have really great YouTube channels. Yvon's YouTube channel is listed below in the description, and her other social media contacts are as well. So if you guys, you learn a lot from Yvon. She does a lot of thrifting videos where she takes you out thrifting live. It's really educational. So you guys would be definitely to your benefit to watch Yvon and watch her videos, especially if you're newer. So we're just filling in a little bit, guys. Say hello. I'd like to say hello to a few people before we start, and then we will get started. Just to check to see the notifications go out. Sometimes it's a little wonky with YouTube. So they should be going out about now. Yes, they did go out. Okay. So we should be filling up. So let me switch over to Yvon. Say hello to Wes. Say hello to Glenn. And Beth was here earlier. I think she's left. She's picking up her wife, so I'm sure she'll be back in the chat later. So, guys, like I said, we're going to have Yvon introduce herself. We're going to discuss reselling. Yvon will tell you about the 3 different platforms she sells on and why she sells on them, and try to give us some information about why she sells on them and give us some tips and strategies on how to use those various platforms. So let me go over to Miss Yvon. We're going to put us both on the screen here, and we will get started. And Yvon, I'll have you introduce yourself. And there she is.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Adam. Hi again. Finally on your channel. Oh my gosh. We should have done this a long time ago. We've been friends for a couple years now.
Yes, we have. So, like I said, we're going to get started with you just doing an introduction. I'm sure 90% of my viewers know you. Some don't. And again, like I said, you have some great thrifting videos where you take people actually into the field with you thrifting. And you tell people why or why not you're buying certain things.
I do.
So why don't you get into an introduction and then tell our people that don't know about you, and the people that do know about you, just refresh them a little bit about what you're all about.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of travel in the same reseller circle, so to speak. We know a lot of the same people, but we might exchange a few people that don't know each other yet, because recently I've expanded back into hard goods and I've taken a deeper dive into vintage. So I have been picking up people that I didn't know were out there. There's a whole other faction of reselling in these different niches. So I've been having a lot of fun. But anyways, I already forgot the question. Where do you want me to start?
Okay, so you're doing an introduction of yourself, where you're from originally, your background, a little bit about your family, your business background, and why you got involved in reselling.
Okay, sorry, I'm a chatter by nature, especially, when we work alone. If I get a chance to chat reselling with people, I'm just like, Okay, so my name is Yvon, and I go by Yvon Thrifty Rich. I would say 90% of my wardrobe in my home are thrifted items, and then plus I'm a reseller. Now, I'm a reseller from way back. I've been reselling since the 80s, before the internet, before eBay. We used to do it in the indoor flea market. And then I had 2 brick and mortar stores. And this was back in Dallas, Texas. Then I moved to Colorado. I think this is home now. I've been in Colorado for 20 years now. So this is home. I did bring a couple of stores with me when I moved to Colorado in the late 90s. But for some reason, I just couldn't set them up. And it took me a few years. I've said this on a couple other shows, but it took me a few years to figure out what my problem was. I had apparently just kind of tough girled it and pushed something back. But I had an armed robbery in one of my retail brick and mortar stores in a shopping strip. And little Hannah, my daughter, was with me because I took her everywhere. That's the joy of being self-employed. She had a playroom in each store that we had. TV, playroom, a bed if she wanted to take a nap. And I had an armed robbery, and she was in the back room. That totally freaked me out. When that lease was up, I kind of just lost interest. I guess I didn't work through it very well. And as is sometimes common when there's tragedy in a marriage, a child dies or something like this, and then the husband and wife don't agree on the male-female perspective of how to process things. I'm young. That kind of led to a divorce. So I took my half and I came to Colorado. Couldn't set it up, did something else for a while, went into the salon business. So I'm also a licensed SD and massage therapist now. I don't practice, but I keep my licenses up. There's the first tip we're going to drop for you guys. Just in case something ever goes wrong, I keep my licenses paid because I can also teach if I want to. And I have been an instructor before at the trade schools. Doesn't pay enough, but it's good to have on your resume if you ever need it. Anyways, back to it. And then in the late 90s, my daughter, who grew up in the flea markets, she even had her own little store when she was 11, selling like 99-cent toys. She showed me eBay. And so I'm like, and that just changed everything, right? The online really helped. So I kind of moved that way. But so I've done retail, I've done used items. I've always been a thrifter, even when I didn't need to be, just for myself. So it made perfect sense to be a thrifty reseller. And it's so much fun. I'm grateful for the community that I found online with social media. The internet is everything. Let me tell you, it's everything. So that's kind of where I'm at now, selling on a few different platforms. I'm going to stop, catch my breath, and let Adam see if there's something else he wants me to follow up with.
Okay. That was very good.
That was a lot, right?
I know you like to chat. You did a great job. Yeah, something I share a lot of my personal information too. And I guess with your situation with the brick and mortar, especially having your daughter there with what happened to you, I could imagine how traumatic that must have been, and it probably was recessed in the back of your mind. I was actually, when I was selling wine and liquor, and I've told people off the on that I sold wine and liquor wholesale. I was in a kind of not a sketchy neighborhood, but not a great neighborhood, and I had somebody pull a gun on the owner, and it was literally like not even 6 feet from me. Yeah. So I don't know why it upset me a little bit, but it didn't. But again, it wasn't my store. And then this retailer, he goes out and starts yelling and screaming at the guy. I'm thinking to myself, call the police. The police station is literally like a half a mile away, and he's chasing the guy. And it's like, oh man.
I gave the guy the money. I gave him the money. Yeah. Gave him the money. Please leave. I had a security system, so it was one of those things you wear.
Oh, okay, like a key fob, but security just pushed the button.
Yeah, and instead of wearing it out, don't wear those out. I tucked it in where you can't see it. And so when he pulled the gun out, I went, press the button. He didn't know.
Right.
So that probably helped him leaving so much. He hit quite a few places in that suburb of Dallas, the police told me. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I'm not the type to break down, but I stuffed it apparently. And it came up later and I was like, oh, that's what happened to me. Yeah, that's all fine because online is way more fun, Adam, isn't it?
Yes and no. It's nice when you have a wholesale supplier, and then some of my viewers are Amazon sellers. I say the vast majority are probably the other platforms. That's my goal, to get some Amazon sellers on. But you can do wholesale. You can do wholesale with eBay too, but most of the wholesale people sell on Amazon. But that's what's nice about working when I was working in retail. I was in like assistant manager of a liquor store, and you purchase things, and the salesperson comes to your store, you order, they tell you about new products, and it gets delivered to you, and you right. Display it or whatever, and it sells off the shelf. But obviously you have to advertise it. With these platforms, the platforms are doing the advertising. eBay advertises, Amazon advertises, Etsy advertises, of all crazy things. And I don't know what it's like in your region, but Goodwill is going crazy with radio advertising in my area. Have you seen that?
Goodwill, and then we have another chain, Thrift, and then of course Plato's Closet and ThredUp. ThredUp is like they're advertising themselves as the biggest thrift store. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
No, I don't see a lot of ThredUp, but like I said, Goodwill is, and I listen to a lot of sports radio just because it's my background. Like I told you, I mean, basically people on the internet are my friends, and I don't have a lot of friends, and I told people about my family. So I listen to a lot of sports radio, and when I'm working, typically I'll listen to sports radio, or I'll play like some kind of upbeat music to keep me going, keep me energized. But they advertise, like it seems like almost every half an hour I hear a Goodwill ad. So I'm
Oh yeah,
thinking,
it has changed since the 80s. When I was, well, before the 80s, but I'm not going to go back too far and date myself. But yeah, I've been thrifting forever. As a child, sometimes my dad, he had a good job at General Motors, but sometimes he would get laid off. You know how that roller coaster, it still continues today.
did he
And so
work
the
in
laid
like the
off
manufacturing part?
months were lean. I lived with my dad. My mom and dad got divorced. I went with my dad. And so sometimes before I could start working, like 16 years old, start working someplace myself, I went to the thrift stores to try to, keep my wardrobe cool. They would be in the weirdest part of town in a back street, the low rent district, kind of scary. Not anything like the luxury we have now. My Goodwills are brand new stores. They have coffee bars and cookies.
Really?
It's a lot different.
I noticed, and again, I'm older. With my health issues, I could be a little cantankerous, a little cranky. But I'm thinking, why is Goodwill getting all these new fancy places? They're going to raise the prices, But that's just my thoughts,
And they did.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing here. They're going into nice retail developments. They're closing like their freestanding stores, and they're going into like big, like strip centers.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 2 of the 4 that are close to me have done that. Going into larger strip centers and closed the one is like a regional center. They have training and stuff there. They kept that part open, but they closed the retail store and they moved across the street. And so 2 out of the 4 are all in these big strip centers, and they're advertising like crazy.
Yeah, thrifting has definitely gone mainstream. You can see every once in a while, I'd say about every 3 months, especially when someone new hits YouTube, when a new reseller all excited hits YouTube, here comes the controversial thing. Goodwill prices are too high. When we won't, and we could talk about it for hours, so we won't. But there are pros and cons to it. Maybe sometime let's make that a theme, and let's just really unpack that sometime, Adam. You and I.
That's what I do. Yep. Absolutely.
The pros and cons of the thrift stores raising their prices, going mainstream, and how to deal with it without whining and complaining. Let's do that. Let's schedule that for maybe in a couple months, okay?
Right. I knew you were on Casey's show recently, and Casey is doing the wholesale lots now. So basically, it's other resellers that are either they have excess inventory, or they could be like storage auction buyers, and they're finding things like maybe clothing and don't sell clothing. So that's an opportunity. And again, I guess you probably have similar, because you're in Colorado. Your weather is, what do you have? Maybe 3 months, 4 months for garage sales and the yard sales in your area?
The part of Colorado, this is one thing that if you don't live in Colorado, you might not know this just by watching the news. When they talk about Colorado's weather, like the blizzards and stuff, they're mostly talking about the higher countries. Okay. I live outside of Denver in the second largest town in Colorado called Colorado Springs. It's a medium-sized town. I think we're up to about 700,000. I'm about 45 minutes away from Denver, but we're a pretty important city as far as like Air Force Academy, the Olympic Center.
Do they still have the Olympic Training Center there?
Yeah, we've got several things going on there. Lots of good colleges. What else is here? There's something else here. Oh, the Broadmoor Hotel is international. We have like the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, and we have so much military besides the Air Force Academy. There's an Air Force base, all that. So we get fresh, I feel like we get fresh money, fresh attitude, fresh vibes.
And you probably get fresh thrifting items because, obviously military people don't have a lot of money, but their families, their clothing, if they don't want to take it with them, they probably, donate things to thrift stores, I would think.
They dump their exercise equipment like hot potatoes.
Exercise equipment?
They're brand new, only used twice, exercise equipment like a hot potato. Yeah, definitely.
So that you have to sell locally, obviously. But most people would sell it locally. Yeah. Do you do any of that? I forgot to ask you. Do you do any of the local sales?
On some big things, yeah, because shipping is just, it keeps going up. It's just not, it just doesn't play in very well. So some things I do flip local. Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of exercise equipment, and do you get a decent return on that? What do you buy that from?
But I haven't dealt in it.
You haven't? Okay.
For ourselves, but I'm just saying, you were that type of person. It's just everywhere around here, all brand new. It's crazy.
Yeah, I tell people I want to get out of clothing. I have a lot of women's jeans that I back in the day when I was following Lindy and Jason Prof Sales, they were all about jeans, and I got so many women's jeans, and I basically sold what I could sell. And then a lot of stuff is just stale. And I keep saying I'm going to donate some of it. And I have some that I still have that it needs to be listed. But I want to get more into the hard goods. And I know you said you're starting to get into pottery more, and you're learning more about pottery.
Yeah, I made the decision to go back into hard goods and quit whining about shipping and all the extra boxes and the storage. And I'm having so much fun. I mean, I always did kind of breeze through hard goods, mugs, things like that. But I decided to open it back up, and I'm like, well, what do I want to add? So I chose to add vintage. So because, I mean, I was there, retro, vintage, well, not half of vintage, all of retro. I was there. So it has been so much fun. The vintage resale community is just people I never even knew of. Some of them are starting to be more, like we're starting to meet them and know more about them.
Right.
Like, who could I say? Like, Crazy Lamp Lady, for instance, she exploded recently.
That's what I hear. I don't watch her, but I hear a lot of people do watch her.
Yeah, and so Drew, her boyfriend, husband, he's great. She's knowledgeable, and a few other people. I won't name drop on your channel, but I do on mine all the time.
Yeah. Well, I miss Chad. I mean, Chad Goldenfinger Picker. I miss Chad. I
miss Chad. Oh, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
Yeah. I come back from when none of these people, Rockstar, Casey wasn't here, Lindy wasn't here.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it was Chad and Ronnie and Pete, Craigslist Hunter. Yep. Of course, Dub, my girl Dub, Pinching Pesos, Tanya, Thrifty Treasures. The girls from the Reseller Stew crew.
Sure.
Global Voodoo. There wasn't that many. Andrew, Picking Profits, and then the Green Room boys started. And then Jason, after his TV show,
pretty much named everyone that I was watching, including Casey.
Yeah, we saw
when I first started.
Jason come on YouTube, Thrift Hunters. Now it's like insane. And then with Poshmark, we have a lot of young girls that have, are doing the YouTube. And I don't blame them. It's fun. They grew up with this, so they embrace it very quickly. And I encourage Gen X. That's me. I'm first wave Gen X. One of my platforms is to encourage Gen X and baby boomers. Don't drop the ball on this. Like, we were the generation that handed it to the millennials. Like, don't drop the ball on it. We're having fun. There's money to be made. There's friends to make. Like, get on here.
Well, speaking of Gen X, I'm going to give you a little chance to get a drink of water. And I want to share something. Like I said, we met 2 years ago at eBay Open. So I didn't tell you what I was going to do. Pardon me?
I was going to tell that story if you didn't.
Well, I'm just going to share this little tiny clip. So
no.
And I'm not really sure
what I edit
it. You'll be all right. All right, we'll do that, and we'll do this.
Oh my gosh! I hope you edited it. It's too long.
No. I'm just doing it. It was my iMovie and I just went to the part that you're on. All right, let's see here.
Yeah.
Let me get back that here we go. That was the show I saw, but we're all into Yvon. Yvon has very.
No, that's good enough. That's good enough. I'll explain it.
There we go now.
Oh, not again.
All right. Let me stop that.
But I want to say I thanked you a million times. It's been a while. I should thank you again. I was going to talk about that. That Adam is one of those friends you want to have. He's one of those. I know he seems businesslike, but he's got a what's a good word for a man when you're like very friendly and like you care about your friends. I can't think of the word, but Adam's got that quality.
And I tell people I'm a Taurus, so that's good and bad.
But he does have a quality.
Very, very loyal.
Yeah, loyal.
I really appreciate friendships, and I'll do anything for my friends, but don't cross me. And don't mistake my kindness for weakness. That's right.
And I say that about myself too, definitely. Because I've got a cocky and arrogant side, But I did not even know he was there. That was my introduction when they announced the Seller Diversity Advocate Program, which I was one of the people picked, and I'm on it for a second year too. This will be my last.
I was going to ask you about that, and I wanted to show you something. You continue. I don't want to interrupt you.
And so that was when they announced it, and they had each of us speak. And my platform was Generation X, because that is a bee in my bonnet, and so that's why I got to be part of that group. Even, I mean, it was kind of leaned toward minorities, but I explained why it's a minority. But anyways, and then he sent me that. Like, no one else, like the rest of the people that I was with, they all partied all night up at the House of Blues. I didn't even bother telling them about it. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. None of them were going to get up, but there was Adam, and he filmed that for me. So I have that memory, and I couldn't believe it. But so thank you again.
Yeah, well,
so awesome.
Unfortunately, I did a lot of my partying many years ago, and I don't do any of that at all anymore, which is a good thing. Let me show you something real quick. This should look familiar, maybe or maybe not.
Oh, are you on this year?
No, I am not. But your director, or whatever her name was, I forget her name. Yes, she was giving them out. I actually closed the exhibition center.
Oh,
that's another story.
Yeah, they send us swag bags, and the last swag bag for appreciation, because we're volunteers. It had mine's right over there by the. I don't know if you can see it under the disco ball.
Okay.
Lots of swag they do give you for doing work for free.
But what happened was, and again, I share, like I said, I share a lot of my personal things or whatever. And I've told you earlier when we first got started, pre-interview or pre-show, whatever. I'm trying to up my YouTube game, and I have a lot more. I bought a camera. I bought all kind of devices to help me film. And so, long story short, that's a friend of mine says that all the time. So when she watches that's for you. I had an iPhone, and I had a special microphone to do it. Do interviews with at eBay Open. I must have asked a dozen people, and I got commitments from 6. Ended up being 1. So what happened was the next to the last day that Casey was there, Rockstar Flipper. I'm like, hey Casey, tomorrow is the last day you're here. It was the last day of the eBay Open, and I said, we're supposed to do this interview. So what happened was, I was like waiting for him, and again my Achilles was acting up, and I had some other issues going on. So it's like, I'm not going to go to the closing speech or whatever. I'll just hang out in the exhibition center. Well, little did I know, as soon as the closing ceremony started, they closed the exhibition center. so they kicked everybody out, and all the crews came in to break everything down. So it's like, oh great. So you'll see in that video, if you ever watch that video, what happened was they let out. And there was this mass of people, and the University of Las Vegas drum corps was there. So I don't know if you ever saw that video from myself or anybody else, but they're doing the drum roll, and all these people are pouring out, and eBay people are high-fiving all the people coming out.
Oh, yeah, I went through that. Yeah, I went through that one. And they give you some swag. They made a line, and you walk down. Right.
Yeah. And I had to find Casey. It's like, you got to be kidding. And I told Casey, come on, Casey. I'll come out like 10 minutes before it's over. Come on, Casey. He never came out. Well, he did come out when everybody else came out. Yeah. So it's like, so I'm like, we got to do this video, Casey. So I'm literally like coattailing him, hanging on to him. And then he wants to talk to somebody from eBay, and all his fan boys and girls are all coming over saying hello to him. Finally, I literally just grabbed him. I was like, we're going. We're going. I said, we got to do this.
eBay Open is a whirlwind.
Pardon me?
It's a whirlwind of activity.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Casey he's going to be what's going to be 100,000 subscribers? Does that sound right? I think that's what it is. I think he has 90,000 in his Facebook group.
He's just under Pete. He's just under Craigslist Hunter.
Right. So anyway, all these people coming up to him, and finally just said, we got to do it. So Shane was there. And so I said, Shane, we got to do this. So he came and helped me. So we ended up filming in the check-in area of the Mandalay Bay. So the video wasn't the greatest, and then I had problems with the lighting, but I did get that one video done. So this year I'm bringing my camera. I don't know if I'm going to bring my laptop or not. I may, which will be another issue. But and that's another thing I wanted to bring up before I ramble sometimes, Yvon.
It's okay.
Um,
We're just chatting.
I wanted to bring that up, but I didn't want to forget to mention it, guys. I don't know what's going to happen with eBay Open. I'm assuming they're going to have it again in Las Vegas. MGM Properties has been divesting of a lot of their casinos, and they're becoming a management company. So they're selling off all these different properties, and they're running basically the casino, the hotels, and then they lease out the restaurants, most of the restaurants. And Mandalay Bay was just the sale was announced Tuesday, where they actually sold the property, but they will be managing it. So they sold Circus Circus a while ago. They sold Bellagio a few months ago. And I might be missing something, but they just announced the sale of MGM Grand and of Mandalay Bay. But again, they will be managing those properties. So, my plan, and I know Beth was in the chat earlier, we're all planning on going to eBay Open, hopefully in July. So I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm assuming they're still going to have it. The room prices are super, super expensive. Right?
It's hard to say, Adam, because, and don't, nobody quote me. This is just hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I heard something about they had a 2 or 3 year contract with Mandalay that could be expired, where they're free to go have it someplace else. It hasn't always been in Vegas, so we might get a surprise.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. And again, I've told people when, like I said, I mentioned Beth, we talk about, how to save money because we're resellers and we're thrifty, you're thrifty rich. So I talk about how to save money when you're reselling or just your general life. And I have a Caesars credit card that whenever I charge things, I get points, which equate to dollars. And I use that. I can stay at Caesars hotels. I can use it for buffets, restaurants. I've eaten twice at Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas, and I've used those points, for the food. So hopefully it'll be in Vegas again, because I really enjoy Vegas. And for a while there, I was going twice a year when I was in my 30s and I wasn't involved with anyone. I would go there. We closed twice a year. My company would for state inventory, mandatory inventory. So we'd close in January and August. So I used to go there twice a year. So I've probably been to Vegas probably 15 to 20 times. So
there's so much to see. You can't do it all in one trip anyway. So
right.
But I will tell you, I won't be going this year.
Okay, I was going to ask you.
I'm trying to talk Lindy into going with me to VidCon. It's in LA.
Right.
And then I'm going to go visit all the LA resellers as well.
Well, again, then because I don't like doing all that traveling, but I do love Vegas. There is one a video conference in Albany, New York. They really have them on the East Coast. So I'm attending that in the beginning of May. That's called, and if anyone's interested, it's called the People of Video. And again, sometimes I'll mention YouTubers, but there's of the YouTube people that are speaking, I think there's 6 that are scheduled. I know 5 out of the 6, and I know pretty well 3 out of the 6. So, and some really, really, really good content providers, and that's what they do. They talk about how to grow your YouTube channel, how to produce videos, et cetera, et cetera. So that's in Albany, New York. So that's my plan. So
I just think VidCon would be better use of my money because
VidCon is huge
on my own channel.
VidCon is huge,
and it's in LA. There's so many people I'm going to go visit. There's so many resellers in LA I'm going to go visit, and I've got a second channel that's all I'm going to say about it coming up. It's non-reseller related.
Okay.
Nothing to do with reselling. So, I'm really focusing on some YouTube stuff this year for 2020.
Well, for you, VidCon and Vid Summit are the 2 huge ones that are out in California in the LA area. And yes, you do it as People of Video. So again, if you guys, any of you guys are interested in doing it, it's in Albany, New York, and it's at a Holiday Inn Express, so you get free breakfast. We don't get free breakfast; you're paying for breakfast. That's like free shipping or not free shipping. we know the customers are paying for the shipping.
I'll go crash with Tiffany and Hugo or one of my other reseller friends. I'll go find somebody to crash with, or if Lindy goes, we'll share. Like we did in eBay Open, we shared a room to keep the cost down.
It is Dan Carey, right? You do it. Yep.
Can I say something, you guys? I can't. Sure. I'm not ignoring the chat, but it's hard to do both. But
yeah, what I do is I have the StreamYard chat out, and the problem is with StreamYard, I attend their their summits, not their summits, their town halls. They run them on Sunday evenings. The people from StreamYard, and I try to input, needs that we have, but I'm not a paying member. I have the free version. So I tell them, and the issue is with people that are guests, they can type in the chat. Actually, they can't type in the chat. They can type in the comment section, the private section, but they can't type in the chat, and they can't do any kind of monitoring or moderating or anything like that. So that needs to be changed. But I'm sure that's down the road. So
I just have you guys on my phone. So let me pause for a minute. Michael, the Cray. Oh my gosh, he's my hero.
He's your hero.
Like you won't like he
the crazy card's your hero.
Huh? The crazy cards, yeah. Like the most unique stuff. Oh my gosh. Well, I beg him to do videos, but he's busy. He's not that YouTube guy. But I'm like, I don't care if you're in your pajamas. Just show us what you got. Like, don't even have to edit. Just drop us a few minutes. But anyways, hi, Michael. And you do it. Okay, I will look into Vid Summit versus VidCon. Thank you.
Yeah, they're good, but Vid Summit is huge. Again, mine's gonna be a little bit smaller. I don't even know how many tickets he's selling, but Dan's selling them, and again, it's on the East Coast. So that was another story. Like I tell you guys, I share my personal stuff. I have to buy a new used car to get me up to Albany, so that's going to have to happen in the early spring, because this is May 2nd, I believe, 1st or 2nd. So anyway, let's get back to reselling. Okay. I had some notes.
Hi, everybody in the chat. Hi. Alexis, Kathy, key lime kisses. Okay.
So I had some things I wanted to discuss with you. We did your introduction. Mm-hmm. You're on 3 platforms, and you discussed that you don't really do local sales. Do you source it all locally? Do you do anything with Facebook Marketplace or any of those other?
If I have time, maybe during a commercial on a movie or something, I might, cruise through that stuff. But because so many of my friends, like they'll post, like, oh, look what I found, So sometimes I give it a try. But, I have so many thrift stores, and I can't even make it to the Denver thrift stores, which are better than what I have even. So I like Thrifty reselling. It's fine with me. I'm okay with it. I like going into, it's all right there. I can have some coffee and a cookie if I want, or whatever. Move on to the next one. It's climate controlled. I do like to do some garage sale. I prefer like a church rummage or a community. I don't really like the hopping in and out. But because of some of my reseller friends, like for instance, the crazy cars, sorry, I call him DeCray, Michael, and Tanya, Thrifty Treasures, I have to be more open-minded about the garage sale. So that's also, I'm going to put my big girl panties on about garage selling too. I took a deeper dive into vintage, so I've been going to the flea markets too and the antique malls. Right. So that's been a blast. And so I've added Thrift With Me videos about doing that as well.
Now, you said you had brick and mortar. Have you ever considered having, like what Tanya does, having a booth in one of these malls, antique malls?
Possibly a booth, but never my own store.
No. I'm
never
just having a booth. Down. Yeah, right.
I have been thinking about a booth just because this price of shipping is going up, and I see so many cool things that I'm like, I could make a little bit of money off of this, but
the shipping's expensive, or
the shipping makes it prohibitive for online. Sure. But if it was in a booth, I know someone would buy it, so, but then I hear some people, I don't want to be negative, but I hear some people talk about the problems, because I don't want to be negative, that they have with a booth. So I'm talking to a few people, like, how do you handle theft? Like, how bad is it? What should I look for when I choose a location, from management? What should I look for? What perks or amenities? So I'm considering it.
Yeah, I guess you have to consider the days are open, their hours are open. Obviously, the distance.
The distance from my house, for real.
Right.
Probably not, though. I probably won't. Why do that? Because I would have to pull time away from other projects, and I've got a whiteboard over here I got from Home Depot. It's just a big whiteboard. It's like huge. I don't know if you guys know that. You can buy huge whiteboard panels for like $8. So it's bam. And okay. I've got it already full for 2020. And
now, do you use a dry eraser, dry marker on that? Is that what you use on that?
Mm-hmm. It's not white paneling. Ask them specifically for the whiteboard. It's the 12 by, what is that? Like a big panel size, huge. Right. It's top to bottom. It's like $8. So you have a huge whiteboard for $8, top to bottom.
Yeah, I show people I bought the chintzy dollar ones at Dollar Tree, but I had to get a better one and post it. Maybe I don't care if I put it on something easel or something.
It's just behind the door, so it's
Okay.
behind the door. I didn't take up precious real estate. It's behind the door, but it's huge. It's filled up. I want to focus on that. I don't want to take time away. I'm really YouTube is top of the list. My YouTube projects are top of the list for 2020.
Now, when, again, you don't have to give out, the government secrets. When are you planning on approximately releasing this new channel?
It's already got its website. It's already got everything stabilized behind the scenes so that I could protect the name. I don't know.
Early spring, late spring?
Huh?
In the summer? Okay.
Sometime before summer, yeah. Because I'm on a roll with learning this vintage, and it's been growing my eBay, and Thrifty Rich channel is growing because I'm focusing on my own channel. So I don't want to be, it's real easy for some of us with certain personality types to be like, we start this, it gets halfway through, and they're like, oh, well, now I'm going to do this. No, I'm really trying to be disciplined. Like, finish this project, get it to where you really want it, and then you can start the other one. So I put everything in place that I need for this second channel thing I'm doing, but I want to keep with Yvon Thrifty Rich channel because it's finally growing, and I'm having so much fun with the Thrift With Me videos and the vintage and the antiques. I'm meeting so many new people in that corner of the reselling, and it's just so much fun.
I don't know, you probably didn't see it yet, but Beth asked you a question. What do you do when you're running out of inventory storage space, which is a problem that a lot of resellers have? I
don't plan on having more than 500 items. So far, I've never kept more than 350. I live in a 4-bedroom house, and we don't have any kids. We're older. The kids are gone. So I've got this is 1 bedroom, which is my eBay office, picture taking. A 4th one downstairs is inventory. And then another one is my dressing room closet. And then the master bedroom with my husband. And then my dad is in a different area. I have plenty of room for probably up to 1,000 or so, but I don't want, I know what my limits are. That's one thing with newbies in the reselling community that watch some of the channels that are like full time. You need to really take a step back and figure out who you are first, because full time isn't for everybody. Because if you want to go full time, you better be prepared to have good systems in place and hire people. Not all of us are cut out to be managers and manage people, nor do we want to anymore. I don't even want to anymore. I've done all that. At my age, no. So I try to keep it manageable for myself. Every once in a while, my daughter will come help me. She has her own eBay store, so she knows exactly how to help me. It's just a breeze. But I want to keep it to where it's fun for me, and I have other ways to make money, so it's fine. The amount I make, 2 on a good month, almost 3, average about 2,000 a month with my 300 items. I'm having fun.
So you turn things over very quickly then?
Yeah, I do. Some things are long tail, but they always eventually sell, or I'll just put them on sale. So, and the hard goods is really, especially the vintage stuff, is really adding to my income.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Your average selling price or your AVP. I'm
40,
assuming with your hard goods, it's going up, right?
Yeah, it's about 40, 42.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, I think it'll get better because I'm blowing out some clothing that just wasn't working, like $10 auctions, $10 auctions.
Right.
So once I'm done with that transition, not that I'm getting out of clothing by any means. I love clothing. I love fashion as an art. So I always have. So
what's nice about that is you can have your 400 item store, and you have a high average selling price, so you don't have to have 600, 700, 800, 1,000, 2,000 items, because you have a high average selling price and you're turning them over quickly.
Relatively quickly. I mean, merchandise that I sell.
You're more on the fast nickel and the slow dime, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Another thing is, because of the way eBay has structured their stores, no matter how much we beg for something in between basic and premier,
exactly,
they won't give it to us. So once you get to about where I'm at, you got to make a decision. You either got to back it down,
or go with 2 basics,
or go make this huge jump to where you got to work a lot harder. So I'm kind of at that bubble right there where I do have to make a decision. Probably even this month, I'm going to probably start paying 20-cent insertion fees on a few things. I don't know. I'm juggling clearing out some things through auctions so that it will make room for my 250 allotment of fixed price, which is how I like to do things. Fixed price, best offer is my method. Never free shipping.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that, and you do best offer. Have you
Yes.
gotten involved with the offers to followers? Have you gotten involved in
Oh
that?
yes, that was one thing that eBay did that I thought went smoothly and was the best. I'm like, wow, they got something right on that one. And
I've had people on the show and people in the chat said that's a game changer.
Yes, definitely. Promoted listings I boycotted from the beginning.
I've been doing them for I don't get them results. I mean, I had a lot of newer tag things, and it's not helping them.
Yeah, it's just that's a whole nother topic too about that. But even as an eBay influencer, I voiced my opinion pretty strongly about promoted listings. So let's talk about that some other time because that's controversial.
Trying to stay positive here.
But I boycotted it. I will not use it.
I just want to point out Wes has posted this several times in the chat. And again, I tell you guys, I just do this to keep busy. And I mean, my expenses are very high, and I got to go eBay open. That's, a write-off. So again, Wes said that your first quarter, I'm sorry, January 15th. Well, he says Q4. I guess that's how it works in the tax year. I don't even get involved in that. The estimated tax is due today, January 15th. So I guess the people that have, the various software programs, I guess I'm assuming probably gives you an alert.
You're talking about sales tax, not our income tax.
I don't know what you want to elaborate. Is that for sales tax, or is that's for quarterly? I think you're talking about income, quarterly estimated income. So Wes is a high volume seller, obviously.
Okay.
I think that's because I think Wes is a high volume seller, so he gets involved in that. So again, I'm very small beans. Like I said, I'm here to learn about reselling, make a few dollars and teach people and try to help people. That's why I'm here, and I do want to grow my business. I want to get to the point where maybe it'll pay my medical premiums or something, because they can be expensive. So. Income tax, quarterly estimated income. Okay.
Quarterly. Okay.
Thanks, Wes.
Okay.
What you said, hard decision. What was that concerning? What?
For Rosie. That was for Rosie.
Rosie equals Crystal. So her name is Crystal, but her YouTube channel is Rosie's Closet.
Okay, that was for Crystal. She said she was at the same kind of spot that I'm in, or we're having to make a decision. I mean, we still have a little wiggle room at 20 cents. I calculated it. I can't remember how many times I can pay for a listing before it adds up to that $30, and I might as well bump it up. Because listen, it's not just how many listings, it's also what we sold. So I'm like, I might have to just bump it up because I'm learning a lot about pottery and glassware and the vintage stuff, and I'm having some good sales. So.
Well, a lot of this is math, and then in fact, I don't see Michelle in here, but Michelle is always here. I guess she's probably having either health issues or something. But one of my moderators is always here. I don't see her in the chat, but I always talk about math all the time. It's a math problem. Determine how much it costs you for insertion fees, and there's a certain area where you have to say, okay, well, it costs me more for insertion fees. I might as well just get another store or go up to the next level. But then Michelle posted in the chat, math is hard. So it's like, yes, it can be hard.
No.
I hope you're doing all right, Michelle. If you watch the replay, I miss you that you're not in the chat today. So,
Michelle who?
Michelle Lofton.
Oh, yeah, Michelle. I see her everywhere. I know Michelle.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit into the different. We said we would give tips and tricks about the various platforms. Okay. I know Poshmark is difficult because of the social aspect. Why don't you just give us your feelings about Poshmark and why you sell on Poshmark, and if you have any tips or tricks about Poshmark.
Okay, I do sell on Poshmark. I ignore everything, all the trending advice that comes out. It comes out in waves, then it's disproven. I ignore all of it. I follow my own gut. I understood from the beginning where a lot of that was coming from, of sharing and blah, blah, blah. That was Poshmark's, how do I say this? I don't want to seem too negative. Okay, that was part of Poshmark's scheme for growth. I understood that. It's not super necessary to do that. Now, how I view Poshmark, I don't put everything over on Poshmark. I do have sales. I seem to sell something over there about once a week. I sold a $50 belt just the other day.
Nice.
So it's worth keeping. And mostly I was using it to advertise my YouTube channel.
Okay.
I'll just say
do you use any of the cross-posting softwares, or do you just do it manually?
No, I'm not that big on Poshmark. I just want to have a presence there. I don't come right out and say, hey, I'm over on eBay too. And I see people do that, and that's quite rude. I don't do that, but it's the same store name. They do let us do that if we want to, and I don't know why. I do talk about YouTube sometimes, that I'm over there.
Right.
So I kind of use it for that. Because anything I put on Poshmark is priced higher than what it is over on eBay.
There's Michelle. Thanks, Michelle. Good to see you.
Hi, Michelle. There you are.
Her ears must have been ringing. Either that, she was lurking, and she was very quiet. What do you list? Just like boho kind? What do you list on Poshmark?
Just the unusual pieces. I don't mess around with all that bread and butter stuff. I really don't. That is brutal. Like a lot of the. Gosh, man, I'm gonna really come off cocky. Forgive me if I make a faux pas, but this is just a stat. Some of the younger Poshmark, people that I see coming in, they're following some of the bigger YouTube advice, with this quick flip bread and butter stuff, and now you can see they're all whining and complaining. It's not working for them. That's a harsh game to get into. I don't really want to do that, but I'll put over some unique pieces, and this is why. When you do Google search, Poshmark stuff shows up. So that gives you exposure. I also do a lot of promoting over to Pinterest because eBay makes it so easy. It's right, the button's right there. And then also it keeps like a time capsule of some of the cool stuff you've sold. Because when it's sold, I've got stuff over on a couple of boards on Pinterest, from 5 years ago. So it's kind of like a cool time capsule. Like, oh, I remember that. That was awesome. Plus the exposure again.
It's funny. Not funny. It's convenient that you said that. Beth Resale Robot was talking about Pinterest and how she used to get involved with Pinterest and how well it worked for her. I think she said she's backed off a little bit because, like everyone else, life gets in the way sometimes. I just want to point out one of the posts in the chat. Again, if I mess up your name, I apologize. Is it Junior Fergus 66? I'm assuming that's how you say it. He says the gap between premium and anchor stores is the real killer. From 1,000 to 10,000 free insertions, $59.99 to $299 a month. That's the difference between a single and multi-person business. So that's a good point.
And then for us smaller thrifty resellers, just the jump between basic and premier is not fun either. But
basic and premium.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
But yeah, I can't imagine that jump. Yeah, that's a whole crew of people. You are now just a manager or something, or I don't know. You got to you got to hire buyers and accountants and managers.
Right. Okay, now let's get a little bit about Etsy and eBay. And don't let me forget to have you show your reseller kit. But my friend, that's gonna be a little noisy. So let's get the content, and we'll get to the tips and tricks at the end. Etsy and eBay. Now I said you're getting more and more in the hard goods, which again I keep you're preaching to the choir here. I should be doing it. I'm not doing it. But again, that's in my plans for 2020. Because 2020 vision. Everybody's making a joke about 2020 in the year 2020. What do you list? Do you list? Obviously, Etsy has to be vintage, correct? So what do you list on Etsy typically?
Okay, I do have an Etsy store, and then I decided I put it on. I stopped.
Oh, you have? Okay, because I saw it in your okay.
There was all this controversy about the shipping, that something was going on, and I'm like, Oh my goodness. I'm like, let me think about this, because once again, I filled up a good list, a very healthy list for 2020. And it's a lot of focus on reselling road trips, some collabs with vintage resellers, YouTubers. I'm going to be meeting up and doing collabs, on each of our respective YouTube channels. What was I going to say? eBay, actually, with all the problems that eBay sometimes has, they are still number one in my opinion and in my heart. I feel like, don't burn yourself out, Yvonne. eBay's good. So yes, I still have the Etsy, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go ahead and fill it up or not. Really.
I know a lot of people that follow my channel that are Etsy sellers sell jewelry on Etsy. So you don't get involved at all in jewelry, I'm assuming?
That is over there on my list. I have been watching Thelma Thrift, Tanya, all the resell, all the jewelry girls, all the jewelry bag girls, and unboxing, and like, I think one of them's in here. Is it Anita?
Yes.
I'm trying. Like, you can see, I'm not a big jewelry person. Like, I'm just not. I wear anklets and scarves, and that's kind of my jewelry. Now that I'm older, I am kind of trying to have more fun with color and jewelry. My followers kind of know what's going on with me there. But it is on the docket for 2020 to finally start with some jewelry bags and boxes. Unfortunately, Goodwill jewelry bags, the script got flipped the beginning of last year, and they upped the price dramatically. Some of them aren't even selling them anymore. They're putting them online. So unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit more strategic issue to jump into that. Now, with that being said, I still look at jewelry. I still breeze through jewelry when I'm out shopping. I still pick up some good pieces. I've got a little pile. I'm not going to call it a death pile. I've got a little money pile of some vintage and some nice jewelry that eventually I'll get around to listing. But jewelry is on part of what's on the docket, which is another reason why I don't want to spread myself too thin anymore with worrying about trying to start, an Etsy store. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We have to know our limits. It's real easy to get caught up in social media and be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. No, we can't do everything. Time. We only have so much time and energy, so...
Well, one of the things, and again, and I tell people, and again, like you said earlier about the different, resellers on YouTube. When we first, you've been in reselling a lot longer than I have. But when I got into it, basically everyone you name is who I followed on YouTube. But I tell people 90% of what I've learned is from Casey. So again, everybody talks, and Casey's not the only one, but everybody talks, multiple sources of income. So again, especially with Amazon, Tiffany is a very talented Amazon seller, Eat Sleep Amazon. And there's issues sometimes with getting, suspended on Amazon, various issues and problems. So again, you want to have various platforms you're selling on. So whatever reason you get suspended from eBay, you're on Etsy or you're on Poshmark, or you get suspended from Amazon, you're on eBay, et cetera, et cetera. So
I'm cool with all that. I have no interest in Amazon whatsoever. I personally feel like I have such good experience that if eBay got hacked and shuts down tomorrow, I know I'll reconstruct everything somewhere else very quickly. And plus, you never know. Hey, Poshmark popped out of nowhere. You never know what cool platform is coming up around the corner. You never know. So,
well, there's a couple on bait, and everyone's they're promoting on the larger channels, and I don't know if they're going to do well or not, but I mean, everyone's trying to get you involved in those. But it's basically Amazon and eBay are the 600-pound gorillas right now. I mean they're just huge.
When I talk about diversifying, I feel like it's more important for me. Okay, and again, I'm married, I'm older, we've got lots of eggs in the basket. I feel like it's important to diversify in other things, not just like I have reselling, I have YouTube, I have other, some other things going on.
People in the real estate or stocks or whatever.
Right. I feel like that's important, especially, and then of course, my husband and I are poker players. So what I will love to do whenever he retires.
Oh, right. I forgot that. You are a poker player. Yes. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay.
What I would love to do.
But I was always in town early. You guys were out at the casinos, I guess. Like you said, people were hanging at the House of Blues, and I was in my room, trying to sleep.
Yeah, I didn't go do that.
I was on East Coast time.
I knew who all was going. I'm spilling the tea. Oh my gosh. I knew who all was walking up the stairs. I'm like, no. I think I went to Jason T. Smith's tiki party that night, I think.
Or did you?
And I didn't stay late because I had that thing in the morning, right? I had the seller diversity pop up in the morning. So yeah, I went to, yeah, that was fun. That was a crazy mess. That was fun. But anyways, I grabbed a few other people, about 6 of us crammed into an Uber, and we went and did that. Anyways, where was I? I forgot.
We're talking about the various platforms. Do it. I mean, there can be issues, especially with Amazon. Amazon is very strict with their policies and their specifications. If you break policy, if you do things incorrectly, they could penalize you. And then I guess, I don't know how, again, Tiffany is the Amazon seller. I don't have a lot of Amazon sellers on my chat, so they would be obviously more skilled at answering that question. eBay is sometimes as simple as selling counterfeited products, by mistake, or getting a complaint from brands that are restricted on eBay, and you continue to list them and sell them, and eBay slaps your wrist and maybe suspends you for a few days. That's typically what happens, or maybe you're not following proper procedures. You're not meeting your metrics. You're not getting shipments out on time. You have a lot of item not as described complaints. That's the type of things that get you suspended on eBay. eBay is a lot more forgiving than Amazon, at least in my opinion. Again, believe me, I know very little about Amazon. I want to learn about Amazon, but that's basically it.
Yeah, me too. Just hearsay. I've heard some horror stories. And what does frighten me too about Amazon, because I know how to buy wholesale, and I'm lucky enough that once again.
Do you do any wholesale at all?
Not right now, but okay. I'm lucky enough to where, again, I live where the Denver has a mart. There's like 11 or 12 major merchandise marts in the United States. Okay. I lived in Dallas, so I went to the Dallas mart, to order, how wholesale works. You did that.
Right.
So, you order it and it's not even made yet. And then they make it and it comes to you and you schedule things out, you pay for it, blah, blah, blah. Well, Denver has one too. So, and there's shows, there's sample days, there's the wholesalers that are all around the peripheral of that building. So, I keep threatening to maybe take a look at that, but I'm pretty comfortable with what I'm doing now. And what I don't like about Amazon that scares me is the way some people claim. So I don't know, some people claim that if you get a product that's really great, Amazon takes it from you.
Amazon doesn't take it, but they jump on your listing and they sell it for less than you're selling it for.
And then if you don't have a friggin' chance. So I'm like, that's unethical, isn't it? So
I'll keep it clean. You're out of luck. I'm sure you people know what I'm implying. But if Amazon jumps on your listing, and then what happens is sometimes if people do like retail arbitrage, if they buy 20 units and maybe they have 10 left, then they'll just put it aside. And then there's various software programs they can use to realize when Amazon might be out of stock, and then they can get the buy box. But yeah, if Amazon jumps on your listing, that's a problem. Typically,
that's what it's called, jumping on your listing. Okay, yeah. So I just don't, I don't want to. At my age, I'm about having fun. Oh, back to the poker. What I would love is when Steve retires, we just travel around and we buy and sell, higher end but relatively quick turnover items, and we go to poker games.
So you're going to carry you're going to have one of those. I know Ronnie was talking about. I forget what they called. Where they attach to the truck the big trailer and the
toy hauler.
I forget what it's called. Where you actually live in the 18 wheelers. I forget what they call it.
I think he wants a toy hauler, doesn't he?
I don't know, but he was talking about traveling around the country, and carrying product with him and sourcing the various locations as he's traveling. And I know Karin and Jason have talked about doing that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I would love to do, when Steve retires. So
right.
So I'm not about to try. I mean, I know how to go hire people, get a warehouse, I can do all that. I could do who would we say? Rally Roots, because we all know I could do a Rally Roots. Right. I've already done it. I did it in the 80s and 90s. I don't
been there, done that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. We made 6 figures even back in the 80s and 90s. We made over 6 figures. I'd say around 140-ish. That's pretty good for.
That's good back then.
For the weekend.
Yeah.
We had 9 flea market stores. We would go in and take. We wouldn't just get a flea market booth. We would get 10 booths, tear down the walls, make a store. So they would be air conditioned, climate controlled, indoor flea markets, open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we'd source during the week, sell on the weekends. They had a coffee shop and a snack bar and
sure
foot traffic was
Usually
insane.
have salt. While around here, they have soft pretzels and pizza and, little mini diners.
Yeah, so that was my 80s and 90s. It was killer. It was so much fun. But
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. Thank you, Wes. I've been thinking about that all day. Fifth wheel. Thank you. You're putting goosenecks. Like, what the heck's a gooseneck? And then the fifth wheel, I know he talked about the fifth wheel. Yep.
Yeah, because you want to have your own vehicle. You don't want to try driving through.
Right. So you can I guess, put that somewhere. I wonder how you protect that. Again, I don't know nothing about that. There must be a way you lock it up somehow. And you just take your vehicle and you source or whatever with it.
You can do that, because I'll tell you something else about my history. I used to race ATVs about 12 years ago.
You used to race ATVs?
Yeah, I have been an attention hoe from way. That's why I'm on YouTube. Everybody knows. I admit it. I'm an attention hoe from way back. So I've done roller derby. You
did roller derby? You missed all that stuff in the introduction.
And then I raced ATVs. But anyways, so we would travel around with the fifth wheel and stuff, right? And so I met so many people that were snowbirds or just enthusiasts. And their setups, they had satellite TV. They could get internet. You can totally just travel around.
Yeah, I guess in today's day and age, it's more convenient to do that.
Right. You can have everything. Your home goes with you. There's storage. And then, the post office boxes are free. I mean, it's so doable. It really is. If you wanted to do something like that part-time.
So maybe you would go from 400 items to like 250 or something, and
something manageable. And it would probably be more like art glass and things that I knew that I'm learning sell pretty quickly.
Right.
So
it's called art glass.
Yeah, because I love art glass anyways. And so as I'm going into vintage, it just kind of naturally, I leaned into vintage art glass as well, because I collected art glass anyways, more modern. My family background, my family people, they do stained glass. They come from stained glass business. So I was exposed to fused glass, stained glass. I mean, a big deal.
That's the category art. I know nothing about art. I never even heard of art glass. What is the short version?
You need to. This is my haul. This is the haul that I'm going to do in a couple of days.
Okay.
Art glass. Was vintage. Oh my gosh. I think this might be a Lalique or a Lalique copy. If so, that's money. Here you go. That's some money right there. I paid $2. This is worth about $40. It's just a base. Really? But it's a special designer artist that did a collab for Rosenthal. This is, you know what? Oh, I just revealed my haul. Hey, Adam.
I'm hearing it clicking. Is that your microphone that keeps clicking?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Watch some of my videos, because you can make money. Listen, I just took a deeper dive into vintage 5 or 6 months ago. It is not as hard or intimidating as you would think. It's really not. You already have reselling experience, and I'm talking to some of you other ones too that want to expand. I've been telling people this. It's not as hard as you think. There's only so many names to learn. Now, yeah, there are some nuances once you want to get into more money. But to get started is not that hard. I can tell you what groups I've joined, who I'm watching. I'm having fun, and it's making me some money. The pottery and the art glass, modern and vintage. I'm not good at antique yet. Maybe I'll tackle that next year.
And again, I'm going to pay your compliment. You're quite a bit younger than I am. But again, I tell people any day I learn something new is a good day. So again, if you're passionate about something, it's not a job. I mean, people like Steve Ray can talk about that, and Gary Vaynerchuk talk about that. If you're passionate about something, it's not a job. And if you're not passionate about it, I'll keep it clean because I keep this PG. Get the heck out. If you're not passionate about something.
So if you want to expand, Bruce, you can put me on fast forward. Hey, there are a lot of people I put on fast forward.
Well, I know you said something good. I'm going to do the clothing right now. If you're not interested in clothing, you can fast forward.
And as far as clothing, I lean towards unique pieces, designer, vintage, and reenactment is one of my favorite niches.
Reenactment. Okay.
Reenactment. So that's a thing.
I went to the New York Renaissance Fair once,
that kind of stuff.
Many years ago.
Reenactment.
They got Civil War. There's another one. I guess they do reenactments and the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We usually would try to keep it around an hour. I just want to see if a few things I might have missed, and then I want to get into your reseller kit. We talked. You don't really do a lot on Poshmark. You don't do Etsy anymore. We talked about that. We talked about Before I forget to ask you, is there anything that, myself or the viewers might walk into like a regular thrift store, Goodwill, a Salvation Army, that is typically there and we may be missing? Again, I'm kind of putting you in the spot here, but like you're talking about this art class. Is there something, because like I tell people with clothing, I don't really know clothing, and I see all these mall brands, like the Pennies, the Sears, the Walmart brands, and obviously that's oversaturated. There's not a lot of profit. Is there anything that comes to mind with you that you think that, guys, you're probably missing a boat because this is probably available in your local, again, because you do so many thrifting?
Yes, since I do predominantly thrifty reselling, I talk about that a lot. Okay, I do the thrift with me, and then I'll do a thrift haul review at home, because some people don't like the thrift with me. They can't take the movement. They don't like that. And then I also do what sold, because some people don't like anything else but show me the money. What the heck sold? So I'll do that for those people. But anyways, so I talk about that a lot. Like the things I'm finding, they're at my Goodwill. They're at the thrift store. I'm a medium-sized town. So you should be able to find these items. Definitely. Okay, let me think off the top of my head. Darn it.
Well, I'm just trying to think. People talk about electronics and different things. That's hit or miss, but maybe there's something that we're missing. I know people talk about expired ink cartridges for printers.
Yeah.
That's something that's kind of, I'm sure it's been mentioned 1,000 times with various shows, but it's popped in my head, and that's something we may be missing. So pick them up, and people. I have a friend of mine. In fact, I got to text him after this. He buys expired ink. That's what all he uses anymore in his printers.
Okay, let me think. Oh gosh, I wasn't prepared for this. Let me think. I would say, okay, this is something that I'm learning. I'm diving into pottery more. This is something that I've learned.
Right.
A lot of times I used to pick up what I thought was cool pottery, and it would have just like somebody's name scribbled. And I was like, that's just a studio piece or a hobby piece. But guess what? I have found out that a lot of pottery people, that it's good money for resale, and they're like sought after and famous. That's all they did was just scribble their name. And what I used to discount as that's just somebody made that in high school art class
or a local pottery shop or whatever on the avenue or whatever. Yep.
And I wish I
don't know what it's called at pottery. And again, Angie, we talked about earlier about Etsy and jewelry. Angie sells a lot of jewelry on Etsy, but again, in jewelry they call it Maker's Mark. So I don't know what they call it in with pottery.
Yeah, the Maker's Mark is across the board.
Okay.
So, and then some of the art glass, again, it's just like etched name, where you would have thought maybe that wasn't nothing. Sometimes it's just a symbol buried somewhere. Okay. So I joined Facebook groups, and I just kind of scroll through.
I was going to ask you about that. Is there a website maybe that has those? I know there's books and things with the jewelry.
Right.
Is there like websites that have those Maker's Marks on them?
And you can just Google images and look at people's images, like slide over to images and just like look, like those Pinterest charts. You can do that for Maker's Marks.
Right. Okay.
So I've learned a lot that I was just overlooking, and because I didn't think it was cute, or I didn't think it was pretty, or it wasn't my style. But man,
your style. Well, that's a tip in and of itself. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that the other people don't like it and it doesn't sell. The old saying, ugly sells. That's a tip in and of itself. So
I know. I hate that term, but it's I get what it means. We all use it. I get it. Like I hate ugly Christmas sweater too, but it's okay. To me, ugly was a 4-letter word in my house growing up. Like you could say F-U-C-K before you could say ugly in my house. I get it. That's just me being too sensitive, I guess. Right. I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, we'll ignore that part of the conversation. Again, I'd like to try to keep this an hour. And again, you and I discussed even in the chat, we might want to do this again sometime in the future. Why don't you show us your reseller kit and tell us how you developed that and why you have it, and go through some of the things in your kit.
Okay. I just happened to have it here because I got up this morning, because when I was editing a video of a Thrift With Me video this morning, I saw something. I'm like, wait, that was supposed to be in my cart. Somehow it got lost in the yes, no, maybe sorting process. So I ran back up there. My pajama bottoms were still on. Just put on a long coat. I ran back up there to get it and grabbed a few other items. So my reseller
pajama bottoms?
Huh? Yeah. I
I'm
was
just
like, I
teasing you.
gotta get
I'm
it
sorry. Go
before
ahead.
anybody else gets it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I left that behind.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Huh?
I said, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Right. So I take IKEA bags. I have them several colors, and I buy the anniversary editions and the artist collab editions. I have a black one. I have the blue ones. I have yellow, and there's like microfiber cloths down in here to wrap things. I do not let the cashiers touch my money makers.
Really?
Those of you that know me, you've heard me say that. I don't let them touch it because they don't care. Not that they're being rude, but if they accidentally break it, sure, they're going to give me my money back off, but I want the item. I don't want the $2 back. I want the item that I'm going to sell for $50 that just got broke.
So you wrap them in microfiber cloth and then you present it to the cashier?
Most all of them know me. I got my IKEA bag. They ring it up.
Okay.
I wrap them. I put it in my IKEA bag.
Okay.
They're all in here. Okay. So I will have some kind of drink. I'm a vegan, so I'll have some vegan snacks and I'll have a drink. And I've got some little peppermint candies. This is what I call diaper wipes. It's those wet wipes. And then
What do you use the wet wipes for? Just if it's something.
Keep my hands clean.
Yeah, well, a thrift store, sure, yeah.
Hand sanitizer. Okay, this is just a little makeup bag that I bought.
Yeah, I should have highlighted you when I'm busy chatting. I'm not paying attention. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
I was busy chatting. It's like I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't see that very well. I guess the people in the audience can't see it very well either.
Okay. So I've got, this is a recent addition since I've started in on vintage. This is a black light, fluorescent light, or black light so that I can check for uranium glass that glows.
Oh, I heard about uranium glass, yeah.
That's a recent addition. Just another flashlight thing. I don't know how, this one might be dead. Might need to replace that. Batteries, a tape measure, white gloves, more handy wipes, batteries. This is important. I give these away sometimes. This is like a golf clicker, you guys, because when you are buying a lot of stuff and they bring you out, if they made a mistake and you didn't catch it, it's too late once you got home. So this discreetly just goes in my hand. When they're ringing stuff up, $2, $2, $3. Now, when she's done, her thing better say, if my thing says $150, her cash register thing better be somewhere close. Otherwise, she's made a mistake somewhere, and then we can fix it right then and there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's discreet. I can be doing other things, and nobody really notices. So this, and I think I got these off of eBay. I bought extra ones to give out as gifts sometimes.
Okay.
Get a coupon counter. I just like this because it was little and metal.
Okay.
I got a couple more in the package right up there under my mat. I give them away when I do giveaway boxes. I have a habit of sending new sellers that I help out because I help out quite a few. I've got about 15 people that I help out for free behind the scenes. They have access to me 24/7. May not answer in the middle of the night, but they can text me and I won't be mad. I help them, and sometimes I send them things that I think they need. So I do help people. I just don't talk about it too much. I don't charge for my coaching, but I can only handle about 10 to 15 people at a time. Once someone feels comfortable, and they don't need my help as much, I might pull someone else in. But so there you go. Batteries, blah, 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 tape measure.
Angie says your clicker doodad is genius.
The clicker thing, yes. Because what a bummer when you got overcharged for something. There went your profit, right?
Sure.
Then if you're going to do vintage, you might want a little black light of some kind to show, so you can see if it's glowing. My own wrappers, IKEA bags. It helps.
Do you have any kind of like, and again, you don't do jewelry, but do you have any kind of like jeweler's loop kind of magnifying thing?
I do. It's up there for when I do dive into jewelry. I did buy it has a little light on it. It just comes out like that. Yeah. I bought that actually about 2 years ago because I've been planning on trying to do jewelry. I really have.
Well, I mean, even things like the maker's mark when you're pottery.
Hey,
I mean, you
take
just
me off the big screen. I'm freaking out.
Okay. Okay.
I can't do. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay. Yeah, she does. She throws it in her cart, or I don't know if they call it buggies out there. I know in the Midwest sometimes they call them buggies. She takes that whole thing and throws it in her shopping cart when she's thrifting. Got to watch her videos, Crystal. It's some really, really neat stuff. If you enjoy thrifting, and what's nice about Yvonne's videos, like I said, she tells you, why she's picking things up or why she's not picking things up. And I made one note, and we're going to wrap it up very shortly. One thing I missed, and again, I'm not really a clothing person. You had picked up some women's clothing. You had picked up Armani Exchange. Can't even speak English anymore. Armani Exchange. I'm saying it like it's some Philly. And you said the hem was bad. And I didn't even think I look for stains, holes, whatever. And you said even though it's an expensive brand, I guess it's not Armani, it's Armani Exchange, but the hem was bad, it was badly done. So I thought that was a neat tip.
Yeah. And, it depends on what kind of, okay, sometimes people have limited resources and what profit are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with maybe just $10 or so? But as you get experience, you start to realize, okay, if I'm not going to hire help, I need to keep it manageable. I'm going to raise, my threshold.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So because there's going to be something else to buy. Deb Pinching Pesos would say, don't peck for profits. Pick for profits. Don't peck for profits. Like, don't be desperate. There's always someplace else to go. And if you have limited resources, I've told some people this that live in very small towns. They're like, Yvonne, I don't have all these Goodwills and this great stuff. Then my suggestion is do road trips then. Save up your money. Do road trips. Go to where there is good stuff. Buy a bunch of stuff. Maybe you can only go once a week or once a month, but do that then.
And again, if you're doing, you don't have to do a lot of volume, but if you're doing any kind of volume, it's a business expense. You can write it off.
A little bit, yeah.
You can't write off getting there and coming back. I mean, that's that. I'm not a tax law, and I'm not a CPA, so don't take my word for gospel. But yeah, it's a business expense.
It helps. I mean, yeah, you can write some of the stuff up. You're not going to get dollar for dollar, but
Right.
It helps nick away at it.
Crystal says, Crystal's in the Las Vegas area. She says she can't do that, with the reseller kit, make you leave anything bigger than a purse behind the counter. She keeps her kit like that in her car, though. So again, hand sanitizer is excellent, obviously, and your IKEA bags and that type of thing. And then people take. I mean, I see Beth when she goes thrifting at the bin. She takes everybody takes IKEA bags. Obviously, that's like the reseller's best
Staple.
Utility. Yeah, staple, exactly right. Thank you.
Especially for the bins.
Yes. Okay. Again, I try to keep things around an hour, guys. We're like an hour and 15 minutes ish. So I don't want to keep Yvonne past the time, and I told her we'd be here. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing, and then we'll wrap things up?
Well, thanks, Adam. We should have done this a long time ago. Let's have me back on, and let's pick a topic, like controversial topic, and we'll just unpack that thing.
We get some clickbait, right?
We'll unpack it and we'll do devil's advocate.
Free shipping or not? No, that's the controversial enough.
Good cop, bad cop. And we'll just unpack it and really look at all sides of it. Critical thinking on something. Other than that, thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I appreciate it. If you're not following me, I hope that you will. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Yvonne Thrifty Rich. I'm probably going to put out my latest Thrift With Me trip if I can finish getting it edited. A couple days, I'll be doing the thrift haul preview right here at home where we look at things more closely.
Great.
That's all.
Hey guys,
Go ahead.
All those links are in the description below. Yvonne's YouTube channel, her Instagram, her Facebook group. Is that when you're saying you're doing about the mentoring? Is that part of that Facebook group, or is that something different?
Come again?
You have a private Facebook group. Is that where you did mentoring?
Called Thrifty Rich Club. I don't really, I started that because when you were on other people's, I used to always be in other people's side chats,
right?
And they ask you questions, but you can't post a picture or a link, and so I'd be like, hey, I'll go drop it over in my Facebook group for you to find. So that's kind of how it started. I would drop information over there for people that needed it. So it's still up. It's got about 750 members, but I don't really push it or not too active in there. I prefer to do everything on YouTube, quite frankly. I don't.
I saw you had a lot. I saw you had a lot of subscribers. I think, well, it must be an active group. I mean, I didn't know, so I just included it in the description below. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate again. I guess I'm not going to see it EBO, but I was one of my questions I had for you. So maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, maybe I'll go to Vid Summit or Vid, whatever the other video shows are out in Los Angeles area. In the meantime, I'm doing my Albany show. Again, guys, we'll do the typical YouTuber close. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And again, if you're new to this channel and you enjoy learning about reselling, whether you be a beginner or intermediate seller, I typically have interviews every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So there's a lot of good content, and I have a playlist where I list all the various resellers. I mean, obviously I've had Yvon on now. Talked about Tanya earlier. We talked about Casey the Rockstar Flipper. Have them on. I had Katie and Vicky on my channel. Shane, Rise and Grind Picker. So it's a lot of really good reseller guys. So if you're new to reselling, or if you just want to just play it in the background while you're doing your listing, I think there's some valuable nuggets in the material that I want to have my guests come on and I interview them. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and we shall see you next time. Thanks, guys.